The world is full of breathtaking places, mountains that pierce the sky, oceans that shimmer like liquid glass, forests whispering with secrets older than memory. But hidden among that beauty are regions where the earth itself becomes a predator. These are the lands that test the limits of human endurance, places that punish curiosity and swallow the reckless. And tonight, you'll walk with me through 10 of them, the most dangerous places on Earth you should never visit. Our first step takes us to the American Southwest, into a land of dust, fire, and silence. Number 10. Death Valley, USA. At first glance, Death Valley looks like a mirage stretched across the horizon. The ground ripples in waves of heat. Salt flats shine like frozen oceans. Mountains rise sharp and bare under a sky so vast it seems endless. Yet beneath that stillness lies one of the deadliest environments on the planet. In July 1913, a small weather station at Furnace Creek recorded a temperature of 134 degrees Fahrenheit, 57 degrees Celsius, the highest air temperature ever measured on Earth. Even a century later, the record stands. Here, midday sun doesn't just warm the skin, it scorches it. Car tires soften, shoes begin to stick, and the wind itself burns. When you breathe, the air feels heavy, like inhaling from an oven door. People have died within sight of their cars, only a few hundred feet from shade or safety. Engines fail, water supplies vanish faster than planned, and panic sets in. The desert doesn't roar, it waits. Hours stretch into hallucination, and the landscape blurs into endless gold. It is said that time behaves differently here. Each minute crawls, dragging the mind into despair. Yet, strangely, life exists. Crows circle overhead, searching for what the valley claims. Tiny lizards dart across the cracked ground, their movements frantic, desperate. At night, coyotes cry to a sky filled with a billion indifferent stars. Long before it earned its ominous name, pioneers trying to cross this valley in the 1840s lost wagons, animals, and men to the heat. When the survivors finally escaped, one of them looked back and said, "Goodbye, Death Valley." The name never left. Even modern explorers underestimate it. In 1996, a tourist named Cornelia Beck went hiking into the valley's desolate canyons. Her car was later found abandoned, the tires half melted. Weeks later, rangers discovered her remains miles away, her water bottles empty, footprints fading in the dust. The desert had erased her as easily as wind wipes chalk from a board. The geology itself feels hostile. Salt crusts shimmer like snow, but step on them and you hear the brittle crack of lifeless earth. Occasionally, boulders known as sailing stones seem to move across the valley floor, leaving trails behind them. Scientists say thin sheets of ice and wind push them, but standing there, surrounded by heat and silence, it feels more supernatural, like the desert rearranging itself while you're not looking. When storms come, they are violent miracles. Thunder shatters the still air. Dry riverbeds fill in seconds. Flash floods sweep through canyons with the force of a locomotive. One moment you're in burning sunlight, the next, walls of mud and rock rush toward you, turning day into darkness. The water disappears almost as fast as it arrives, leaving only steaming ground and the echo of disaster. Tourists still arrive, drawn to the thrill, the danger, the promise of standing where the earth feels most alive. They take pictures, smile, and leave before the valley decides they've stayed too long. But every year, the list of lost souls grows a little longer. Rangers carry maps filled with red dots marking where bodies were found. Reminders that even in a world mapped by satellites, some places remain untamed. If you ever find yourself there, remember, carry water, respect the silence, and never underestimate the sun. Because in Death Valley, the difference between a breathtaking view and your last breath can be measured in minutes. Number 9. Mount Sinabung, Indonesia. On the island of Sumatra, the earth never sleeps. Beneath the thick green jungles, magma moves like blood through veins that never rest. And in the middle of that living land stands Mount Sinabung, a mountain that looks peaceful only from afar. For centuries, it was silent. Villagers built their lives around its slopes, planting rice, raising goats, telling children that the great mountain was their guardian. But in 2010, after 400 years of quiet, Sinabung awoke. At first, there were only tremors, cups rattling on tables, dogs barking at nothing, the ground quivering like it had a pulse. Then one night, the mountain roared. Flames erupted from its summit, ash rolled across the sky, blotting out the stars. By dawn, entire villages were buried under gray. Those who ran could hear stones hissing through the air as hot as molten glass. Those who didn't never made it out. Since that first eruption, Sinabung has refused to sleep again. 2014, 2016, 2020. Each time it bursts open, it kills anew. Farmers, soldiers, children watching from windows. The air fills with the bitter taste of sulfur. The ground shakes like something breathing beneath it. Photographers who have captured it describe the sound not as thunder, but as the growl of the planet itself. The pyroclastic flows move faster than cars, a mix of ash, gas, and fire, hot enough to turn lungs to glass. There is no outrunning them. When the mountain decides to exhale, life simply ends. Yet, people remain. They rebuild their homes again and again on the same slopes, praying that the next eruption will wait. To outsiders, it looks like madness. To them, it is loyalty. To land, to family, to the soil that feeds them even as it threatens to destroy them. At dusk, Sinabung glows red in the distance. A soft rain of ash falls on rooftops like snow, muffling sound, cloaking everything in a quiet that feels almost holy. It's beautiful and horrifying at the same time. Standing there, you understand that nature doesn't hate us, it simply doesn't care. And in that indifference lies the truest kind of danger. Number 8. Oymyakon, Russia. They call it the Pole of Cold. Deep in the Siberian wilderness lies Oymyakon, a town where winter never truly ends. Here, the sun rises late and sets early, and between those brief hours, the temperature barely climbs above zero. In January, it can drop below minus 60 degrees Celsius, cold enough to freeze breath into crystals that fall like dust. When you step outside, air burns like fire in your lungs. Metal bites the skin. Cars are never turned off. Their engines run day and night, or the oil inside will turn to sludge and the machinery will die. Schools close only when temperatures fall below minus 52 degrees. Children play in snow so deep it hides fences, their laughter small and strange in the frozen air. Once, a traveler tried to take a photograph. He lifted his camera, and the lens cracked before he could press the shutter. In Oymyakon, technology surrenders to the cold just as quickly as flesh. Locals move slowly and deliberately. They know that rushing, sweating, or breathing too hard can mean death. Moisture freezes on contact, forming frost around the eyelashes. Fires must never go out. A moment's carelessness could turn a home into a tomb of ice. But even here, life adapts. The Yakut people have lived in this place for centuries, their faces carved by the wind, their hearts steady as the permafrost beneath them. They eat frozen fish like candy, use horses whose coats grow thick as carpets, and tell stories by dim firelight about travelers who vanished into white storms, never to return. At night, the silence is so deep it hums. Stars blaze with impossible clarity, and the northern lights writhe above the village like spirits searching for warmth. It is breathtaking and deadly. Oymyakon isn't. Number 7. Chernobyl, Ukraine. There are places where the past never dies. In the forests of northern Ukraine, the air itself still remembers April 26, 1986. That morning, a routine safety test at Reactor 4 of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant went catastrophically wrong. A surge of power split the core, blew off the reactor's lid, and turned night into an unnatural dawn. Within seconds, radiation invisible to the eye flooded the sky, the deadliest light humanity has ever made. The workers who rushed toward the glowing ruins didn't know what was killing them. They carried hoses, tools, courage. They touched twisted metal that hissed with deadly particles. Many were gone within weeks. The town of Pripyat, home to more than 45,000 people, looked untouched that first morning, swings still moving, breakfast still half-eaten. But Geiger counters screamed in the hands of soldiers. By evening, buses filled with families rolled out of the city, leaving behind pets, photos, lives. They thought they'd return in 3 days. They never did. Now, the city stands frozen in time. Ferris wheels rust above empty squares. Vines creep through schoolrooms. Shoes, toys, and notebooks lie exactly where they fell. It's quiet, but not safe. Radiation lingers in the soil, in the walls, in the air itself. Birds sing, yet some hatch with white feathers or twisted beaks. Wolves and wild horses roam the streets where children once played. Nature has reclaimed Chernobyl, but what it reclaimed was poisoned. Every year, a few tourists come dressed in protective suits, guided by dosimeters that click softly as they walk. They take photographs of decay, chasing a beauty born of tragedy. But stay too long, breathe too deeply, and that beauty begins to seep inside you. Chernobyl isn't a ruin. It's a warning written in silence, a reminder that the most dangerous places on Earth are often the ones we create ourselves. Number 6, Lake Natron, Tanzania. Far away in the Great Rift Valley of East Africa lies a lake that glows crimson beneath the sun. From a distance, it looks like a painting, a flat mirror stretching to the horizon, colored red, orange, and pink. But Lake Natron is not a painting. It's a trap set by chemistry and heat. The water here reaches temperatures of 60 degrees Celsius. It is so alkaline, so filled with minerals like sodium carbonate and ammonia that it burns skin on contact. The lake's surface hides a caustic mixture that can strip flesh and preserve what remains. Birds that mistake it for a calm resting place land once and never rise again. Their bodies hardened, coated in a crust of salt that freezes them in the poses of flight. They look like statues scattered along the shore, wings outstretched, eyes glazed white, beautiful and horrifying at the same time. Scientists say the strange colors come from microorganisms that thrive in water too harsh for anything else. They flourish where life should not exist, painting the lake in blood and fire. At sunrise, the light turned the whole world scarlet, as if the earth itself were bleeding. The air smells faintly of minerals, sharp and metallic, and the wind carries whispers across the flat plain that sound almost human. Yet, even in this nightmare, life finds a way. Flamingos gather at the edges, nesting on islands made of salt. They alone have adapted to the poison, their legs and beaks built to survive what would kill anything else. To them, Lake Natron is sanctuary. To everything else, it's death. Stand at its shore and you can feel the tension between beauty and danger. The surface is still, almost inviting, but one step too far, and the heat and alkalinity begin their silent work. It is the kind of place that reminds you how thin the line is between wonder and destruction, where nature paints with both creation and decay. Lake Natron doesn't rage, doesn't roar, doesn't strike. It waits, calm and perfect, reflecting the sun like a mirror held up to the heavens. But beneath that mirror lies a chemistry that does not forgive mistakes. Number 5, Danakil Desert, Ethiopia. There are places on Earth that look less like parts of our planet and more like visions from another world. The Danakil Desert in Ethiopia is one of them. It lies deep within the Great Rift Valley, a place where 3 tectonic plates pull the ground apart, creating an open wound on the surface of the Earth. It is quite literally a door to hell. Temperatures here can climb beyond 120 degrees Fahrenheit. The air itself feels alive with heat. The horizon shimmers in waves, and every breath burns the throat. The desert floor is painted in impossible colors, yellow, green, orange, formed by boiling sulfur pools and acid springs that hiss and bubble from the ground. The smell of sulfur hangs everywhere, sharp and choking, like the breath of a dragon that never sleeps. The landscape is a masterpiece of danger. Lava lakes glow at night, pulsing with orange light that stains the clouds above. Salt flats stretch for miles, crusted with minerals so bright they look like frost. But step wrong and they crumble under your weight, revealing scalding water beneath. There are no roads here, no trees, no mercy. Even compasses fail, confused by magnetic minerals buried in the ground. Scientists come to study how life survives in such a place, because if anything can live here, it might live on other planets. The ground is crawling with microscopic organisms that feed on poison, swimming in acid pools that could melt human skin in seconds. It's as if nature is experimenting with the very concept of survival. And yet, against all logic, people live here. The Afar people have crossed this desert for generations, mining salt under a sun that could kill in hours. They lead camels through endless white plains, cutting salt blocks by hand, stacking them in perfect rows. Their faces are carved by heat and wind. Their lives are measured by endurance. To them, the desert is not hell, it's home. Visitors who dare to enter it often speak of the silence, a silence so heavy it presses on the chest. There is no bird song, no rustling leaves, only the faint hiss of gas escaping from the earth. At night, the ground glows faintly, as if the planet itself is burning beneath your feet. You feel small there, fragile, temporary. The Danakil Desert doesn't shout its danger. It simply exists, vast, hot, and utterly indifferent to life. For those who venture into it, one thing becomes clear. The earth doesn't need monsters to be terrifying. It only needs itself. Number 4, Snake Island, Brazil. Off the coast of Sao Paulo, Brazil, lies a small island that could be mistaken for paradise. It's lush, green, surrounded by clear blue water, the kind of place that would appear in a travel brochure. But no one lives there. No one dares to, because this island belongs to the snakes.
Ilha de Coyanda Grande, better known as Snake Island, is home to one of the highest concentrations of venomous snakes on the planet. It's estimated that there is at least one snake for every square meter, tens of thousands of them slithering through the trees and grass. Most of them belong to a single species, the golden lancehead viper, a snake so deadly that its venom can melt flesh and kill a person within minutes. The island's isolation created a perfect evolutionary trap. Thousands of years ago, rising sea levels cut it off from the mainline, stranding a population of snakes. With no large prey to hunt, they evolved extreme venom, strong enough to kill birds almost instantly. Now the island is theirs alone. Even the Brazilian Navy forbids anyone from setting foot there. Stories from fishermen tell of boats that drifted too close and never returned. They say the snakes hang from trees, striking at anything that moves. Of course, no one knows for sure because the few people who have landed rarely come back. The lighthouse that once stood on the island was abandoned decades ago, its keepers driven away by the endless threat that crawled under their floorboards. Yet the island is strangely beautiful. In the sunlight, the viper's golden scales shimmer like jewelry scattered across the forest floor. The vegetation grows wild and untouched, the air heavy and still. It's paradise, but rewritten by nature into something far crueler. A place where life thrives, but not for you. Snake Island stands as proof that beauty and death can share the same skin. It's a place that looks alive, but is ruled by silence and by the quiet promise that if you step ashore, the island will welcome you only once.
3. Tornado Alley, USA. In the heart of the United States lies a region where the air itself can turn against you. They call it Tornado Alley, a vast stretch of land spanning from Texas to South Dakota, where flat plains and warm, moist winds from the Gulf of Mexico collide with cold air sweeping down from Canada. The result is chaos, chaos that spins, screams, and destroys everything in its path. Here, storms don't simply arrive, they are born, fast, violent, and unpredictable. One moment, the sky is calm. The next, it darkens into a bruised green. The wind stops, birds vanish, and a silence settles that feels almost holy. Then, without warning, the world begins to roar. A tornado forms when air currents twist into a deadly spiral, feeding on heat and pressure until it becomes a living thing. The funnel descends from the clouds like the finger of some vengeful god, stretching toward the earth, churning dust and debris into its mouth. It moves with an intelligence that feels personal, as if it's hunting. Houses vanish in seconds, trucks are tossed like toys, whole neighborhoods can disappear before a single scream escapes the throat. Those who've seen it describe the sound as deeper than thunder, a growl that shakes the bones and leaves your ears ringing long after it's gone. In Tornado Alley, survival depends on timing. You watch the radar, you listen to the sirens, and when they go off, you run for the cellar. But even underground, the earth trembles as the wind tears across the plains, ripping trees from the ground, turning splinters into weapons. The 2011 Joplin tornado killed more than 150 people in a single afternoon. Winds reached over 200 miles per hour. Cars were found wrapped around trees. Entire hospitals were reduced to rubble. The survivors said it was like watching the sky come down to erase the earth. Yet, despite the horror, people still live there. They rebuild their homes every time the wind takes them. Maybe it's stubbornness, or maybe it's love, a love of open skies, of soil that grows the world's food, of a land that both gives and destroys. Because for those who call Tornado Alley home, danger isn't a stranger. It's a season.
one that always comes back. 2. North Sentinel Island, India. In the blue waters of the Andaman Sea lies an island untouched by the modern world. From above, it looks like paradise. Endless beaches, clear water, and thick green forest rising from the sand. But step too close, and paradise becomes the most dangerous place on Earth. This is North Sentinel Island. It's home to the Sentinelese, a tribe that has lived there for tens of thousands of years, completely isolated from the rest of humanity. They do not want visitors, they do not want help, and they will kill to protect their home. When outsiders approach, the island's defenders appear from the trees armed with bows, spears, and fury. They have repelled every attempt at contact, from colonial explorers to rescue helicopters after natural disasters. Even the Indian government has declared the island off-limits forever. Boats must stay miles away. Airplanes cannot fly low overhead. The Sentinelese are to be left alone, not out of respect, but for safety. Theirs and ours. The danger here isn't only physical. These people have no immunity to modern diseases. Even a common cold could wipe them out. So any contact, even with good intentions, could mean genocide. The island is both fortress and time capsule, sealed against the present, preserved in the past. Yet, the mystery draws people. In 2018, an American missionary named John Allen Chow tried to reach the island, hoping to bring his faith to its people. He was met with arrows the moment he stepped ashore. His body was never recovered. The ocean took him, and the island remained silent. What makes North Sentinel Island so haunting isn't its violence, it's its purity. It is one of the last places on Earth untouched by global civilization. No roads, no electricity, no machines. Only the rhythm of waves, the whisper of wind through palm leaves, and the heartbeat of a people who have never known the rest of us exist. North Sentinel is a reminder that not all isolation is loneliness. Sometimes it's protection. And in a world obsessed with discovery, this island dares to remain undiscovered. 1. The Death Road, Bolivia. High in the Andes Mountains of Bolivia, where clouds cling to the cliffs and the air grows thin, there winds a road that has claimed more lives than any other on Earth. Its official name is North Yungas Road, but few call it that. To most, it's simply known as the Death Road. From the capital city of La Paz, it snakes down more than 11,000 feet through rain, fog, and jungle, a single narrow track carved into the side of a mountain. On one side, sheer rock faces rise like walls. On the other, a drop so deep you can't see the bottom. No guardrails, no margin for error. Just one wrong turn and you vanish into the mist forever. Built in the 1930s by prisoners of war, the road was meant to connect remote villages to the capital. But what it connected most was fear and tragedy. Every curve hides danger: wet stones, falling rocks, sudden landslides, blind corners where only one vehicle can pass. And yet, for decades, trucks, buses, and cyclists have risked it every day. In the rainy season, waterfalls spill directly across the path, turning the dirt into slick mud. Visibility drops to almost nothing, and tires slip dangerously close to the edge. Drivers lean forward, gripping the wheel, eyes fixed on the thin white line that marks the center of the road. A line that means life or death. A single mistake can send an entire bus plunging hundreds of feet into the jungle below. The locals tell stories of headlights that appear in the fog at night, belonging to vehicles that crashed years ago. They say you can still hear engines roaring somewhere deep in the valley long after the drivers are gone. Whether or not the stories are true, one fact remains. More than 300 people died here every year before a new highway was built. And even now, the death road is not empty. Today, it has become a strange pilgrimage. Thousands of thrill seekers come to ride it on mountain bikes, drawn by danger itself. They come for the view, the endless jungle, the whisper of clouds sliding past, the thrill of survival. But as they race along the narrow cliffs with only inches between their tires and the abyss, one thought returns to everyone who dares it. How small we are against the mountain. How fragile. How temporary. How easily forgotten. At the end of the road, where it meets the green valley below, there is no sign, no monument, no warning, just silence. The kind of silence that belongs only to places where too many have fallen. The death road does not kill out of anger or malice. It simply exists. A reminder that the world doesn't care how careful you are. You can be brave, smart, cautious, and still disappear into the mist. These are the places where beauty wears the mask of death. From frozen wastelands to burning deserts, from silent cities to forbidden islands, every corner of this planet hides something that demands respect, even fear. They remind us that Earth isn't tamed. It never was. We build walls, we draw maps, we name the mountains and seas as if they belong to us. But they don't. We're just visitors here, temporary guests in a world far older and far stronger than we can imagine. And sometimes, that world reaches out to remind us who's really in control. So, the next time you stare at a travel photo and think, I want to go there, ask yourself, do you really? Because some places don't want you to visit. Some places want you to stay.